Crypto market is taking a hit, and is it happening to TradFi? Well, we'll break it down for you. There is some big news breaking today, so we'll give it all to you. My name is Paul Barrett. Welcome back into Tech Path. Let's get rolling. I want to thank our sponsor. That's Tangem. This is where you guys can get into self-custody. If you're brand new to crypto and you've never heard of self-custody, well, it's very simple. This is where you can take tokens that you've purchased on exchanges, and if you don't feel safe there, you can move them to your own self-custody card, and that is done with Tangem. Very easy to set up. It works with your phone, and they even state it right here. 3 minutes, 3 minutes. I've tested this. It actually works. You guys can get started on your own self-custody journey. Use our link, get a discount. All right, let's go into a couple of things that are hitting right now. The Iranians are now coming in and saying that the foreign minister says Iran is ready to consider diplomacy. This could be a little bit of a reprieve here in the market. Watch out for this weekend. We could see some volatile nature of that. Along with that news, also breaking is Bloomberg raising approval odds for a spot ETF for both XRP, Dogecoin, as well as Cardano to 90%. This could be a good sign, guys, as we start to come out of this, and especially if we get out of these macro pressures. The only thing we need is a Fed rate cut. And from what I'm hearing, July might be the date. But while all that's going on, 200 mil liquidated from the crypto market in the past 60 minutes. You can kind of see the market right there as Bitcoin trading around 103. Almost everything red, but things are starting to move around a little bit. We'll see how this plays out over the weekend. Let me know in the comments if you are bullish for the weekend or are you bearish. Just drop in some notes down below. By the way, if you're not subscribed, get in and do it right now. We're about to hit 1.5 million. You guys could be part of that 1.5 million PBN family. U.S. stock market is now outperforming, has been historic. If you look at the ratio between emerging market performance and equities, which has fallen to its lowest in the last 55. It's about a 1-to-1 deviation below its historic mean. But the point is that if you look at the dot-com bubble, many people would look at so much of the companies that happened in that era really were performing quite differently. And of course, this period happened on the S&P, returned almost 562%. Those were all emerging markets, and I think that might be where we are going right now. Other things that you got to look at is Coinbase, of course, obtains regulatory license to offer crypto services across Europe. This is going to expand more adoption, and especially now, I think they had 27 countries getting the MiCA license to open that up. That'll be new for Coinbase, and of course, that means more adoption globally for people who have never been in crypto in general. That helps everybody's bags for sure. I want to go to a clip here because this clip explains a little bit of why we're seeing Circle's stock perform so well while the market not necessarily the same. Take a look.
Do you think that Coinbase is becoming kind of just viewed more traditionally because it's an equity essentially?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you're an equity investor and you don't want to have exposure to a BTC ETF, that's one expression. But I was surprised actually of CoinCircle's sort of IPO debut, to be honest, right? I thought it was probably a bit rich. 50% of the revenue of interest revenue that comes from Circle's business actually is paid out to Coinbase. But I wouldn't be surprised if a big institution like a JP Morgan, et cetera, was able to take sort of that market share from Circle, right?
Does it give more credence in terms of the path and trajectory for, say, Ethereum?
Absolutely.
All right, so points they're getting at is that mainstream traditional finance has discovered crypto through the use of Circle. Circle right now ran from $64 to $200, and it's still pumping right now above almost $250 right now. Circle isn't just USDC, they monetize trust and yield. That's a big deal. We get the Genius Act passing. That is a huge thing. I anticipate, though, that this is going to have a follow-on effect on the rest of the crypto market for sure. This is new money coming into crypto, but in through a traditional finance way. So be on the lookout because this is, I think, starting to move some things around. The other thing you got to look at is treasuries are sitting on the blockchain rails just now hit 6.6 billion. This is up 920% on year over year. This is just a fraction of where this is going. So think about that. 27 trillion in the treasury market right now. That could be. That's still just 0.02%. Simply meaning, guys, more and more coming out of the blockchain. That increases fees. That increases profits for a lot of these chains, which, of course, as you know, increases yields and token price. So be on the look at that. Speaking of that, here's Tom Lee one of our favorite analysts, talking about some things that are happening within the ETH ecosystem. He's forecasting, meaning Besant, 3.7 trillion, which is 15x larger than the current stablecoin rate. Think about how much stablecoin market cap we have. 3.7 trillion is where Besant is pushing. I still think this is under where this is potentially going around stablecoins. If that is the case, USDC still representing about 25 to 30% of Ethereum's network fees today. That's Circle. We'll talk about that in a second. The only way up, guys, is ETH, and ETH is still 2,500 bucks a token. So it's one of the best buys out there and definitely oversold when you look at the markets overall. Now, where is this market soaking up from? Well, let me go to a headline right here. This is card issuers. You'll know them: Visa, Mastercard, American Express. They and their stocks have started to plunge. And the reason is because we've seen the stablecoin bill get passed. People are starting to realize, wait a minute, there could be another settlement layer coming in called crypto and blockchain. That's what we're talking about. And if you look at the stock prices right here, just to give you an example, I'll zoom in on this right here. Visa stock 4% down, Mastercard stock 3.4%. Now, American Express holding their own at 1.7, mainly because they're going after a little bit more of a younger audience. And I think that is the thing you got to look at, is right there. Remember, Amex partnered with Coinbase on their new Coinbase One product and their credit card, which is going to be Bitcoin yield. So interesting things playing into this right now. When you look at where money is shifting into crypto, almost in a secondary way, because it's coming through Circle, Coinbase, MicroStrategy, etc. We'll show you some charts here in a second to get into that. Here is CNBC breaking down how Visa and Mastercard are taking a hit. Take a look.
It's actually been really good for ETH ETFs, which have come roaring back from the dead this month. A lot of these stablecoins run on Ethereum. You got a glimpse of that in Coinbase's partnership with Shopify announced last week. And so if we are in this new age of stablecoin payments, that could eat into revenue at the card network. So some on Wall Street saying that fear may be premature, but nevertheless, Scott, Visa and MasterCard taking a hit for now. And USDC issued, of course, by Circle, whose shares are rocketing up.
All right, so as you can see, that's the issue right now. Circle continuing to push. I wonder if maybe Circle is still undervalued in comparison. Think about this when you look at 3.7 trillion coming into the stablecoin market, and I think that's under what this will be. Circle continuing to, yes, pay fees to Coinbase, but at some point there is going to be a critical mass adoption curve that will push them into the stratosphere, and that will be the point in which we'll start to see mainstream across all sectors, I think, in crypto. Imagine if you bought Circle pre-IPO, because there were some investment opportunities out there. Here's a clip to break it down.
I knew there would be regulatory challenges for sure in 2013. Always was a huge risk. It's always a big risk, even as we speak today.
Cost basis on Circle?
27 cents.
27 cents.
Not bad, Jim. Does it still offer value for investors who weren't as lucky as you to get in so early?
I'll look backwards. There's certain topics I'll stay away from, of course. How this plays out, we shall see.
Well, you got to look at it this way, guys. You could go back and look at Amazon. You could look at Tesla, any of the innovators in their category. And I think, Circle, at least right now, is one of the few that's out there that is innovating in this sector. Do they get soaked up by other financial institutions as we continue to see this growth chart, I think, is the key. Cathie Wood, of course, went in and took a little bit of her profit, 51.7 million worth of Circle, which was low in comparison when you think about the shares, especially of where they are. Further into this, it just shows you a little bit of where she's going with Circle after its latest move. So doesn't necessarily get the full amount, but we're not quite yet on the iPhone moment when developers everywhere kind of understand where this is going. And I agree. I think this is still very early in the market. And I think a lot of people that are maybe just discovering crypto for the first time really understand what a stablecoin is. And I talk to people all the time about this very issue. What's interesting to me is I have a lot of traditional finance friends that are money managers, etc. And Circle was one of the calls that I got, over the last few weeks. Is this a play? Is this a play? And I said, well, if you believe in Ethereum, probably it's a good traditional finance model. And look at it now. I think a lot of these TradFi managers are out there now setting back going, well, there is going to be another wave here, and it's most likely going to be around Ethereum. So pay attention a lot of unlocks getting ready to come in. Looking at Cathie Wood's portfolio, we're going to rebalance this for her real quick. So she's holding Tesla at the #1 slot. I think we should move Palantir right up there to #1. We'll hold Coinbase at #2 for now. Let's move Robinhood into the #3, and let's move Circle into #4. That would be my top 4 right there. Palantir, Coinbase, I'd go with Robinhood, and then Circle. That's your rebalance, Cathie, so no problems. There you go. That playing out over the next 2 to 3 years, going to be a big bet going forward. Other things you got to look at is SharpLink Gaming. This is one of the edgier plays. It has been getting beat down by a lot of the shorts. Now, SharpLink Gaming, Joseph Lubin, that of course is pretty much Ethereum when you think about it. The play on SharpLink Gaming is that they're investing in Ethereum. So think MicroStrategy, they're investing in Bitcoin. If this is the early stage for SharpLink Gaming, could this be one of those breakouts? Once that we exhaust the shorts, be on the lookout for that one. Others that you got to watch out that are coming on to NASDAQ right now, guess who? Pudgy Penguin coming this way. One of the best branding products out there. I don't know how this is going to play out, but it could be a surprise on Wall Street. So pay attention to this one as well. If you don't know much about Pudgy Penguins, we've got a few videos on it. You can search it down in our channel and you'll see a little bit more. But basically it was an NFT that became a physical. They did a deal with Walmart, became a boom, started to build up products, apps, ecosystems, and a huge brand. And I think they could be one of the next ones to go into. Now, Robinhood is on the verge of getting into tokenized securities. And one of the things everybody's been asking is, what blockchain will they choose to go in this direction? Well, many people kind of looking at ETH, and it's interesting, and Solana, because Solana was looked at as well. And when you look at it, because Arbitrum being a layer 2, if that is the one, are they maybe forecasting a little bit here? Because they're heading over to EthCC in Cairns. So interesting, if you're going to choose Solana, unless you're doing it just to do a head fake. I don't know, but I'm watching this one close because it will have an effect on the layer 2s, but also the Ethereum ecosystem once Robinhood gets to get into that. Also think about this. This is another area that is very bullish. When you look at Fidelity only, Robinhood just became one of the bigger ones. They're paying 5% interest on cash, 3% back on a credit card, if you can get it, by the way. You have to go on a list, so that's later in the year. 3% match on IRA, 3% on IRA 401s, and a 1% match on deposits. Plus, they're doing compounding on this. So when you're gaining these and you can go back into your deposit, this is the new finance model. And it is one that I think will attract a ridiculous amount of new users. This is another stock that I still think is going to be absolutely fantastic. Let's take a look at that, by the way. We'll go with Circle right now on the daily. This is where we're talking about right now. Circle continuing to fly up the chart at 239. Can it hold this, guys? Do you feel like Circle is still undervalued when you look at the amount of opportunity here for stablecoins? Let me know in the comments. If you compare that to what's going on with MicroStrategy, which has been pretty much sideways for quite a while here, really all the way back into May, end of last May, sliding sideways. Maybe are we in the setup for a Bitcoin run? People are looking at that. And then of course, Robinhood also moving up now at almost 80 bucks a share, which is another one that I think is going to continue. Remember, Robinhood has a lot of announcements. They're trying to become a bank. They're going to drop their big credit card. All of that will continue to push the Robinhood stock, I think, up. There's Coinbase, of course, absolutely flying on Circle, and I think this will continue because a lot of people are still looking at, well, if it's not Circle, who else is potentially out there? And if you kind of zoom out, just to go down here on the weekly, and let's run back a ways. This is where Coinbase has been. If you go all the way back to its original offering around 376, this is getting back into the zone of where its IPO started to move. So be on the lookout for those guys. I think we're in a new era of crypto and blockchain related trades. One other thing, when you kind of compare industries and where that historical could go, if you are an investor in tech or you're an investor and you say blockchain, yeah, it's going to be one of the things just like AI or any other category, you could even go back and compare this. I wouldn't compare it to Amazon, but if you look at Amazon's history, there was a time long time ago when Amazon absolutely was only up and to the right. And of course, you did have an era where there was an absolute pullback, sure. But the point is, if you don't necessarily trust yourself in the crypto market, meaning buying tokens and dealing with DEXs and decentralized exchanges or doing anything in terms of trades in that, and you're just comfortable with regular stock trades, maybe blockchain and a lot of these companies could fall into your portfolio. So take a look. Not investment advice, but it's something if you believe in tech and the future of where monetary systems are going, maybe this is a play for you. If you're not in the Diamond Circle, get in on that. It's our own special group. And of course, we'll leave a link down below. Catch me on Twitter, X, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.